Okay, what's up, everyone? Swinging Bull here with PB Alerts. Welcome to my earnings stream. I do this every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Today we got CrowdStrike and Hewlett Packard. So pretty interested in seeing how the stock prices react to their earnings data. Hewlett Packard reports at 4:05 p.m. Eastern, so about 5 minutes for them. We'll get the data. Let me pull up my other screen here so I can get the get ready to give everyone the EPS and revenue and guidance and stuff. So Hewlett Packard anchored VWAP's a little bit below 16. They're trading above there. They closed the regular session at $17.67 a share. And then we got CrowdStrike reporting. Let me pull them up real quick. Also for Hewlett Packard, their EPS forecast is 0.34, and their forecast for revenue is 7.48 billion. Let me go over here. HPE. Welcome to the stream, everybody. We got earnings. Let's look at CrowdStrike just real sec. Oops, wrong one. CRWD. There. Oh, gotta wait for the damn thing to. There we go. Okay. CrowdStrike reports at 4:10 p.m. Eastern. Their forecast EPS 0.66. Their forecast revenue 1.10 billion. They as well were trading well above their anchored VWAP. Their anchored VWAP probably around like 390-ish. And they closed the regular session. Blue Brain, my bro, Blue Brain on YouTube. What's going on? Hope you have a good day today, man. Hope your week's going well. So CrowdStrike closed the regular session at $488.66 a share, up 2% on the day. Of course, the indexes were up today, S&P and QQQ. They kind of sold off during pre-market and just rallied for the rest of the day, basically. Yep, so they're sitting up here. I did put a hedge trade in place today because I just think the markets, again, are looking a little overextended. Of course, we got potential resistance in the mid 590s, like around 595, 596 from May 19th. So it's just, what, a few weeks ago? Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. Kind of topped out there, and then SPY ended up back down to 575. So I just kind of put a trade in place today to set myself up in case that happens again. Looks like the Qs are selling off a little bit here in after hours. Let me go back to the sticks on Hewlett Packard. I'm going to go 1 minute chart. Again, Hewlett Packard reports at, whoops, pop-ups, hold on. Hewlett Packard reports at 4:05. So we'll get the data for them first. And then right after that, 5 minutes later, we get CrowdStrike. This was a hedge trade. I was alerting to the Discord earlier. I'll go over that in a little here after we get the results. Okay, just a few more minutes, and we will get the results for Hewlett Packard, HPE. Okay. Hewlett Packard had a little kind of pre-earnings price action here and after hours. Went all the way up to 17.91. Now it's coming back down. They're kind of where it closed at. A little bit above where it closed at. Obviously still waiting on the earnings data. Give a shout out to Blue Brain. The bottom of my screen. What's up, brother? CRWD, CrowdStrike, they have not reported earnings yet. So we're still waiting on the data. That was NBCFC on YouTube. Welcome to the stream. They report at 4:10 p.m. Eastern. It's about 5 more minutes for CrowdStrike. As soon as we get their data, we'll see what the reaction is. Of course, I'll give everyone the EPS, revenue, any guidance I can find, stuff like that. So we're kind of just on standby here for a few more minutes. Hewlett Packard their data should be coming in here in about 30 seconds. Again, CrowdStrike's at 4:10 p.m. Eastern. It's about 5 more minutes there. Go 1 minute chart on CrowdStrike. They're kind of up a little bit in after hours, pre-earnings data. 15 seconds left on this 1 minute candle. It's up to 492 now. Oh, they just made a new high day. Okay. Maybe the data's out already. Let me see. Earnings Whisper said 4:10 p.m. Eastern, but sometimes their time's wrong. Okay, getting lots of volatility here now. Hewlett Packard. Okay, CrowdStrike as well. You saw that first initial move was up. That was not the real move. It's selling off here. It's down $12 a share, $13 a share. Not looking too good for the CrowdStrike bulls. Data's got to be out. Let me get it. Okay, let's see if it bottoms out though. Let's sometimes give this a few minutes for the earnings to kind of be digested by investors. I go to Hewlett Packard real quick because they're kind of holding up here after having an initial positive reaction. Okay. Got a lot of people making some guesses on Twitter here. What's going to happen? And again, this is from the earnings correspondent, but Hewlett Packard, again, EPS expected numbers 0.33 and forecast for revenue 7.5 billion. That's for Hewlett Packard. Okay, still waiting. The data's got to be out. Let me check another source here. I'll just go to investor relations page if I have to. Okay, we do got CrowdStrike's data here. It doesn't look too good off just the first glance here, but they missed on revenue. That's not really good. I know revenue is an important line item for investors for CrowdStrike. They did beat EPS by 11%. However, the EPS was down 22% year over year. This is for CrowdStrike. They missed revenue just by a little bit, but nonetheless, they missed it. Let's see. Let me go back over here to my other screen. Okay. Thank you, Mad Maverick. Appreciate you just gave me Hewlett Packard's results. So let me just do this. There we go. Okay, here's Hewlett Packard. I'm just going to move my screen over just a little bit so we can see the price action on the right still. Hewlett Packard beat EPS and beat revenue. So double beat by Hewlett Packard. Good stuff there by HPE. Let me move this back over here. And let me get some more info. I want to see what the guidance and stuff was. Go back to Hewlett Packard just for a second. I know most people are here for CrowdStrike. So just give me a minute on that and I'll get the info on that. As far as like any guidance or anything like that. Big tech making moves. Whether it's good or bad, they're just making moves, right? Okay. Let me see. Okay, there was a bunch of bears on Twitter calling for a sell-off on CrowdStrike. Looks like they were spot on with that so far. HPE earnings. Just go over a couple of statements from the CEO for Hewlett Packard. So of course the revenue came in 7.6 billion. That's up 6% from the prior year. And the let's check a couple other things here. A couple notes from the CEO of Hewlett Packard. We delivered a solid performance, achieving yet another quarter of year-over-year revenue growth with strength in each of our product segments. That was said by Antonio Neri. He's the president and CEO. In a very dynamic macro environment, we executed our strategy with discipline. We remained focused on bringing breakthrough innovation to our customers while increasing profitability and enhancing shareholder value. Mena on YouTube, how you doing? Welcome to this show. Just going over some Hewlett Packard earnings data real quick, and then we're going to switch over to CrowdStrike. A couple notes from Hewlett Packard's CFO. We drove higher revenue year over year in Q2 across server, intelligent edge, and hybrid cloud. And importantly, in server, we improved margin performance over the course of the quarter. That was said by Marie Myers, that she's the executive vice president and the CFO. She says, we are maintaining our focus on achieving efficiencies and streamlining operations across our business to position Hewlett Packard for the future and deliver financial results aligned with our fiscal 2025 outlook. Okay, a couple other things here. Let me just take a look at Goodwill recorded. All right, I'm just going through some of these line items here. Okay. I'm going to switch over to CrowdStrike here just for a second because I want to get EPS revenue for them as well. I'll post the EPS revenue data on the bottom of my screen on YouTube for Hewlett Packard while I'm awaiting the earnings. Yeah, Mana. Looks like HPE was looking like a maybe a congrats to the Bulls on this one. I mean, they're up 3.73% in after hours after being up 2% during the day. Of course, S&P and triple Qs, or NASDAQ, should I say, had a nice rally for the majority of the day. Let the good times roll on Hewlett Packard, eh? Okay, I'm going to go back to CrowdStrike just for a second. CrowdStrike getting a negative reaction. They're down $31 a share right now. Investors are not liking their data. I do want to mention something for the CrowdStrike bulls. They did approve a $1 billion share repurchase program. So that is good news, even though the stock price is not reflecting that. Okay, let's look at the guidance for Q2. Looks like they increased guidance because they're saying sales for Q2, remainder of Q2, of course, 1.15 billion. The estimate was 1.10 billion. The EPS 83 cents versus the estimate of 81 cents. So the increased guidance on the Q2 metric. Mana says Q1 growth was 20% plus, first time in USA. This is a real data center and energy stocks. Wherever you can get, buy. Yeah, no, I feel you. So it looks like they had some good growth there. So that's good, the Q1 growth. Fiscal year guidance for CrowdStrike. Okay, they did reduce guidance for the fiscal year. That's probably why they're starting off a little bit. They didn't reduce it by a lot, but I figure investors were probably looking for them to increase the guidance on the sales, and they did not do that. So that's a problem. That's a problem for CrowdStrike. Just making a little mini bearish H pattern right now. Let's see if the bottom, in fact, is in or not. As soon as the bottom looks like it's in, I'll draw a fib on there and get some levels for everyone, but it's not looking like, I mean, it's trying to bottom out, but it's just still up in the air right now. So they lowered fiscal year guidance. CrowdStrike, it's not good. But they also approved a $1 billion share repurchase program. So I think CrowdStrike could probably be one of these situations where, if you were long on it, I know it sucks to see it down, $32 a share right now, but this could be a good dip buy. Not financial advice, just my opinion. Obviously, CrowdStrike's a good company, billion-dollar company, but them reducing their guidance on sales, that's not good. That's why it got the negative reaction. So let me just take a look at a couple of things here. Let me go to two-chart view over here. I just wanted to see what their income statement looked like going into this earnings. Let's take a look. It's almost $500 stock before this earnings data. Yeah, their net income hasn't been too good the past couple quarters. So them reducing the guidance on sales, that's not what investors want to see from them. Debt to asset ratio 61%. That's fair. So yeah, that's basically what the deal is for CrowdStrike. For everyone joining the stream for CrowdStrike data, it's overall the data was good except them reducing the guidance, and that's kind of what What got them there? Let me post CrowdStrike's EPS and revenue on the bottom of the screen. So they did miss revenue. So they beat EPS, they missed revenue, and they lowered sales guidance. That's why it's on. That's why it sold off. As simple as that. We put this data for CrowdStrike on the bottom of my screen. I do also want to note though that the board did approve the $1 billion share repurchase program, so that'll end up helping them. Yeah, no tariff excuse, right? Griffin on YouTube. I feel you on that. Just want to put that extra data in the comments about the $1 billion share repurchase program, but investors aren't liking the number one, they missed the revenue. Number two, they reduced sales guidance for fiscal year. So we're seeing some selling here. But like I say, overall, I think CrowdStrike is going to be fine. Could maybe be looked at as a little bit of a discount on the stock here. But they are down about 7% in after hours. Yeah, Frank, I was kind of just thinking that, overall, I am a CrowdStrike fan. So I think this could be looked at as a discount moving forward, especially with the board approving that $1 billion share repurchase program. You can expect them to be repurchasing shares in the future, and that should drive the stock price up. I think this would be a good dip buy, just my opinion. Yeah, and I agree, Griffin. Maybe there's a secondary move when they do the earnings call with the CEO and the upper management. Matter of fact, let me get that data for everyone, how to get to that. I'll post a link that everyone can screenshot that'll get you to the earnings call with the upper management. Give me 1 sec, I'll post that. Okay, I'm just going to go over here. It's easy to find these web calls. Just Google CRWD Investor Relations. Probably just click on that first link right there. All right, scroll down a little bit. Here's the press releases if you want to see the financial data. Okay, and you're just going to scroll down a little bit more, and you're going to see upcoming events. June 3rd. 2 p.m. Pacific time, so it's going to be 5 p.m. Eastern. So about 45 more minutes, and they're going to have the CrowdStrike conference call. Okay, you can see here this link right in the middle. Click here for webcast. So you're just going to kind of click on that. I'll post this link here so everyone can screenshot this. This will get you to the web call. Just set an alarm for 5 p.m., maybe a little before that, and then give everyone a second. Let me get a shorter link for that. Let me get a shorter link. Yeah, I'll just do the investor relation link, because literally all you got to do is here. Let me do this actually, because all you get right on the home page when you get to the investor relation link, just scroll down to upcoming events, and it's right there. So let me put an easier link on the bottom of my screen. Easier for people to type in. And oh, thanks, Griffin, appreciate it. Boom. Okay, so I'll leave that up on the bottom of my screen. Everyone has a chance to screenshot that. That'll get you to the web call. Again, just a summary on CrowdStrike. I think investors were hoping for a little bit more on the revenue and sales front, and they did beat EPS, but in a situation like this, I think the revenue is just a little bit, a little more important than the EPS, and they missed revenue just by a little bit, but they did miss. I think investors were hoping that they would beat, so they missed revenue forecast, and they lowered fiscal year guidance for sales. So that's why they're. Nonetheless, I mean, they didn't lower the sales guidance for the fiscal year by only just a tiny bit, Yeah, and it's a huge revenue company. I mean, again, it's a $1 billion company, this company, I mean, you can just go to the total revenue, and past 5 quarters, they've been ranging like 0.85 to a little over $1 billion a quarter in revenue. So a powerhouse of a company when it comes to revenue. But unfortunately, investors are looking more at revenue and sales with this company, and they missed revenue forecast just by a little bit, and they lowered the sales guidance for fiscal year. They actually increased the sales guidance for remainder of Q2, so more on like a shorter time frame looking. That's good in the short term, but of course investors are more longer term looking, and they lowered that sales guidance even if it was just by a little bit, and that's not what they wanted to see. So unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with now for the CrowdStrike bulls. But again, I was saying this a little bit ago. For me personally, I'd wait for the selling to stop, or at least slow down a little bit, and could be a good opportunity to buy some dips on this one. And if even for smaller accounts, as long as you have a margin account, maybe some put credit spreads tomorrow. If this in fact does start bottoming out here for the remainder of after hours, and then of course we got the pre-market data. If it does start clawing back some of these losses, this might be setting up for some good put credit spreads, which is a bullish strategy, even though we're using puts, but technically we're short the put, so we're bullish. So maybe put credit spread opportunity on this tomorrow, bring in a little income while we're waiting for the stock price to stabilize and retrace the rest of the selling. Yeah, and Griffin, that would have been a good idea. I mean, I know everything looks good in hindsight, but moving forward, absolutely. If you have the share quantity amounts, maybe just slap a covered call on there, in the future before catalysts like this, and then at least that way you have a little downside protection, and you can make a little bit of money if there is a negative reaction. And then of course the premium you collect on the covered call you can use to reduce your cost basis on the shares. So it is a good strategy, the whole covered call route. I do like trading those a lot. I do a lot of the wheel strategy in the Discord, basically selling cash trade puts to enter stock, and then selling covered calls to exit stock, and then obviously overall profitable at the end of the full wheel rotation. I do a lot of trading like that in the Discord. That's basically my bread and butter. And then of course I do a lot of spreads, credit spreads, debit spreads. I do a lot of condors. I do short iron condors, long iron condors. I like the long iron condors for earnings. I haven't been doing too many long iron condors lately because just so many companies have been withholding guidance. We haven't really been getting the big moves that we're used to, because when they withhold guidance, it just creates uncertainty, and that's why I've kind of put the inverse iron condors on hold. Let's see. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any comments. But like I say, I think CrowdStrike's going to be a good dip buy. I might even do some put credit spreads on this tomorrow morning if all things go well with the remainder of after hours and pre-market. So there definitely is some buying coming into the picture here. It's like people really like the price down there in the low 450s, and we got some buying pressure coming in finally. This is a 5-minute candles. Working on a green 5-minute right now. It's the biggest 5-minute candle it's printed since the big red sell-off candle. So let's see if we got RSI curling back up a little bit. I'd like the RSI to get back above 30. That would increase my confidence a little bit more that this in fact does have a chance of retracing back up. We'll go over to trading view just for a second. It does look like their 1-minute chart definitely looks like they're trying to form a bottom. Look at Hewlett Packard holding up pretty nicely. Kind of sloppy price action a little bit. See a lot of little gaps and dojis getting printed, so a little sloppy, but nonetheless, Hewlett Packard, it's looking like a congrats to the Hewlett Packard bulls. They're up 3.5% in after hours right now. So Hewlett Packard looks good. CrowdStrike, again, trying to form a bottom. Looks like it's trying to fish hook up a little bit. Just want to see where the 25% retrace is at. Let me go the other way with it, actually. Do it here. I'll count the little impulse move up it had before it sold up. That's fine. 25% retrace. going to put us right around 463.50, around there. Definitely would like that level to break to the upside. If not, maybe this is just a dead cat bounce, but we'll see. So R1, resistance 1, 463.50, pretty easy level. And then R2, it's going to be right around 469. So 463.50, R1, R2, 469, pretty easy levels there. Just something, you know, you can look at from a bird's eye view, and, you know, unless those levels get reclaimed, you know, my confidence isn't too high that this is in fact going to retrace the selling. But of course, S1 is the after hours low, right around 453.40. HPE, yeah. I mean, this, you know, you'd think if it was going to come back down, it'd probably have done that by now, right? Usually when these things reverse with the earnings catalyst, usually the reversals happen pretty quickly. Okay, so I got the link to the CrowdStrike earnings web call. Again, that's at 5 p.m. Eastern. So we got 35 more minutes before that even goes down. And maybe there's a secondary move during when the earnings call starts, you know. We've seen that before. I'm going to put CrowdStrike's earnings data back on the bottom of my screen. I think everyone had plenty of time to screenshot that earnings web call link. So let me just post this again for the EPS and revenue data. And then, nice, Griffin. Okay, so you got 30 points on CRWD after EPS. Congrats on the trade. I want to go to HPE just real quick. I don't think I posted their EPS and revenue data yet, so I want to get that posted in the comments for everybody. Okay, so of course, Hewlett Packard had a double beat, I believe. Let me just make sure. Yeah, they did have a double beat. Again, so just recap Hewlett Packard. It's almost 4:30. Again, double beat. Nice solid beat on EPS. Double-digit beat, 15%. And they did beat revenue, which is very important for tech companies. EPS down 10% year over year. Revenue up 6% year over year. But they beat expectations. So congrats to the HPE bulls on that one. Let me get a couple more pieces of data here. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I got EPS and revenue for HPE. All right, let's see how this comes out on my screen. Okay, there's EPS and revenue, so double beat. And their revenue, Hewlett Packard's revenue was up 6% year over year, so showing some growth there. Me likey. All right, CrowdStrike's coming down to test after hours low. It's right around 453.40. Well, Webull says it's 453. TradingView says it's more like 453.40. Sometimes I see discrepancies in the candle prices from Webull to TradingView. That's why I use them both. Webull says 453 is the after hours low. TradingView more like 453.40. But yep, it's kind of formed that bearish H pattern. We actually traded the H pattern today in the Discord on SPY. I'll show you exactly where it was. Go 5-minute chart on SPY. Yeah, here, I'll just put a box around it. These bearish H patterns are like the easiest freaking trades ever. Here, let me get my rectangle. I'll just kind of highlight the whole thing. So kind of see how I kind of make like a little H. So we usually try and catch it. Like you get the sell off, it comes up, and it's a lowercase h, right? So you got the kind of the pull of the H here when the sell off, and it comes back up. And this would be like the hump on the lowercase h, and then usually you'll get a retest down here somewhere. Didn't quite come all the way down, but we scalped these two candles right here, these two red ones. Very easy trade. It was trading sideways, and then it formed that bearish H pattern, and it was just a quick scalp trade, but we made some good money on it. I did multiple contracts, and it was a nice way to end the day. It was kind of a dangerous trade because obviously going against the overall trend of the day. But you know, as soon as the trend broke, you could see the price ended up on the bottom side of my two EMAs. I like using the 9 and the 21 EMA. So this blue line would be my 9, and then the green is my 21. If you can catch a solid trend day just using those EMAs, I mean, this is like the easiest trade. You just do calls as long as the price stays above your use your EMAs as your stop out. You could have just rode calls basically all day today. Maybe sit out the first, hour, let the opening move chop get out the way, and then boom, you've been solid on calls all day. I was busy this morning and I didn't catch the trending calls, but I did. I was able to sign on, and I noticed the trend broke. I saw the potential H pattern forming. I was a little patient. I entered when it was trading sideways, and then we scalped these two red candles right here. Very fast trades. I actually was in the trade quite a while because I entered when I was anticipating the bearish H, and I entered like around here, around 3 o'clock, and you can see I was actually in the trade for about 45 minutes when, and I had 4 contracts. I did the 596 puts for tomorrow's expiration, caught this nice little flush down, and I ended up putting my stop loss in the green. And I ended up stopping out down here when this next green candle started printing is when I stopped out. But it was a beautiful trade, nice in and out, quick money. That's how I like it. Let me go back to the sticks on CrowdStrike. All right, they did make a new after hours low. Let me adjust my fib down a little more. Let me see, Webull's got them at 452.54. And yeah, okay, so TradingView and Webull's price is kind of lining up now. It wasn't lining up back here, but now it's lined up. Hewlett Packard looks good. I know the candles look a little sloppy. It's just printing like these little dash like marks, right? Like it's just kind of sloppy price action, real spotty. I wouldn't call it sloppy. I'd call it spotty price action, but nonetheless, it's holding up. And I would think if it was going to reverse, it would have probably done that by now. So it looks like Hewlett Packard's going to be just fine for the bulls. CrowdStrike, again, I know I was saying that earlier in the stream that it's probably going to be a good dip buy candidate, but you have to, you have to be safe about things. Just because it's down $33 right now doesn't mean okay, and we're going to back the truck, back the truck up and load the boat or whatever. Me personally, I like to ensure that the selling has stopped. So what we want to see is for this to start printing some higher lows. Hasn't done that yet, has it? So, don't catch a falling knife, because if the bottom's not in, this thing could go down 10 more points. And you're going to be kicking yourself in the butt for not waiting for the selling to slow down. I'd rather sacrifice some of the reversal move. So like once it starts printing higher lows, it's obviously begun the reversal at that point. I'll sacrifice a few of the initial higher lows to make sure that the bottom is in fact in, and investors are looking at this as a dip buy and a discount, and now it's going to start trending back up. So I'll sacrifice a little bit of the initial move just to make sure I'm not catching a falling knife. That's just, I've been trading for a long time, and that's just works for me, I don't mind sacrificing a little bit of the move to make sure that higher lows are printing. And not so much the 1 minute chart. I mean, the 1 minute chart, that's all, kind of the only data we have to go off of right now. But I want to see higher lows like on the 5 and, eventually the 15. And then maybe my confidence will start going up that this is the bottom's in, it's retracing back up. Let's get in on the ride back up, even if we had to sacrifice a little bit of the initial move. That's fine. Porterhouse on Discord, move, chop, get out the way. All right, so still waiting for a bottom to come in on CrowdStrike. It's not in yet. It just made a new after hours low just like 5 minutes ago. So Again, just keep your eye out for higher lows. You're going to know when it starts doing higher lows. They're really easy to spot. It's obviously not doing that yet. So CrowdStrike bulls, just, keep your pants on, be a little patient. If this is in some sort of longer term, portfolio, a longer term position, if you will, again, you wait for the bottom before you start dip buying it. That's what I would do. Okay, so we got our reactions here. Griffin, still above your buy point on CrowdStrike. Okay, it sounds like you got a pretty good plan in place. That's awesome to hear. I love that. I see people time and time again. They don't got a plan. They're just they're just blindly trading. We like to have plans in place over here. It makes things a lot better and easier and less stressful if you got a plan. So it looks like Griffin's on the ball over there. Very nice. Okay, that's pretty much all I got for today. Looks like we got our reactions. Of course, CrowdStrike was a negative reaction. And again, just for the people to join in the stream a little late, they did beat EPS, but investors want to the revenue and sales is more important for CrowdStrike than EPS. So even though they beat EPS, it really doesn't mean much. They missed revenue expectations and they lowered fiscal year sales guidance. Not what investors wanted to see, but nonetheless, it is still a billion-dollar company. CrowdStrike's going to be just fine. They only missed revenue by a tiny bit, and they only reduced guidance by a tiny bit. It wasn't even like anything dramatic. So again, my opinion, not financial advice, I do think this is a good dip buy candidate. But again, my preference is to wait for higher lows to start printing, and then maybe I'll take some nibbles. Sounds good, Griffin. Hope you have a good night, and definitely see you next time. Yeah, Alvin on YouTube, I agree. Yeah, cybersecurity is always in during the AI revolution. Yeah, I mean, CrowdStrike ain't going nowhere. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be around for a long, long time. I mean, it's a freaking $400 stock, $400 or $500 stock. So there's a reason why they're trading that high, because this is good. They're doing good things. But again, keep your eye on CrowdStrike. Let's see if it starts printing higher lows. The web call with the earnings CEO is in about 23 more minutes. It's at 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll put that link on my screen again in case anyone didn't have a chance to screenshot it before. There we go. So give everyone a few minutes to screenshot that. That'll take you to the web call with the CEO. Starts in about 20 minutes. There could be a secondary move when that earnings call goes down. Maybe the bottom comes in during that earnings call. And again, it should be pretty obvious to see the higher lows starting to print when it in fact does start doing that. And that'll probably be a good signal that, hey, okay, the bottom's probably in now. We can start taking little nibbles, right? Good stuff. CV logs on YouTube. Why is CrowdStrike falling? So basically, they did beat EPS, but they missed revenue expectations. This is a revenue-driven company. Investors wanted to see them beat revenue, and they did not beat the forecast. So that was taken negatively, and they also reduced fiscal year guidance on sales, just by a little bit, but nonetheless, they reduced it. So CV logs on YouTube, that's my opinion on why this is getting a negative reaction, because investors aren't liking the line items for the revenue, and then of course and it's funny because they increased the guidance for the remainder of Q2, which is more short-term looking, but of course investors are more longer-term looking, and they reduced the fiscal year guidance for sales. So that's why they kind of taken a little hit here. But I am a fan of CrowdStrike. I think this could be looked at as a discount moving forward. Again, my opinion is wait for the higher lows to start printing, and then maybe we can start taking some nibbles on it. I may even do some put credit spreads, which is a bullish spread strategy. I'll probably do some put credit spreads on this tomorrow. If the remainder of after hours data and pre-market data shows me that it's okay to do that, then I'll go ahead and make some income with some spreads. And I think that'd be a good plan. Okay. So about 4:40 p.m. Yeah, we can do a little quick comparison on CRWD and PanW and kind of see which company would be stronger, if you will, fundamentally. I like going. Let's just take a look at the income statement. Just to kind of paint this black and white or straightforward. PanW. Let's look at the net income. Yeah, PanW is better financially as far as net income goes. PanW is actually pulling profit. Okay. The thing with CrowdStrike is I think the reason why they're trading a lot higher than PanW is just because the company I think has better growth potential. I think with CrowdStrike compared to PanW. I'm just not liking the net income on CrowdStrike lately. Okay, you can even see the year-over-year numbers aren't too good. So they've got negative net income. That's kind of a little bit of a red flag, but nonetheless, I think they have a bigger growth potential than PanW, which is why they're trading almost double of PanW's price. But PanW, they're actually pulling the profit. So that's definitely good for them. I wouldn't mind having either one of these in a longer term portfolio. If that maybe helps clarify kind of what I feel about these two. CrowdStrike has better growth potential, but PanW has better financials. So kind of get a little give and take on both of them, right? So my opinion is I like both companies, to be honest with you. I do, and these are companies I would not mind having in the longer term portfolio, and depending on your portfolio size, maybe try and get up to 100 shares if you can, and that way you can start writing covered call contracts. And when the stocks get to resistance on the bigger time frames, write a covered call, make some income when it hits that resistance rejection. You can easily scalp some income on the covered calls and just kind of rinse and repeat those anytime it comes up to resistance. And then the premium, I was saying this earlier, but then the premium you collect on the covered calls will help reduce your cost basis on your shares. So I love doing stuff like that with my positions. So I hope that helps. 4:45 p.m. Again, it's about 15 more minutes, and the CrowdStrike earnings call with the CEO and the upper management is going down. I'm not going to personally stream that myself, but I do have the link on the bottom of my screen. So if anyone wants to screenshot that, they can join the call, no problems. Hewlett Packard, still looking good. Maybe flagging a little bit. We'll see if it turns into a bull flag, but nonetheless, they're holding up. Like I say, I think if they were going to come back down, now there is some selling hitting the tape right now. I'm on time and sells right now. There's a bit of selling going on, but it doesn't look too extreme because the price is still holding up above 18 bucks. Sitting at 18, over 18.20 now. It's up 3%. I'll go back up here to time and sells. Yeah. So it looks like congrats to the HPE bulls. CrowdStrike bulls, don't get too upset. I know it's down. I know it's down 32 points right now, 33 points, but I think once the bottom's in, this is a solid dip buy. I'm probably going to do some bullish spreads on it tomorrow, depending on the rest of the extended hours price action. And moving forward, kind of forward looking, if you are a CrowdStrike long-term bull, see if you can accumulate 100 shares. I mean, I know it's expensive. 100 shares at let's just kind of take a mid price here, like maybe 465 times 100. Yeah, so obviously 100 shares, that would be a pretty sizable position. Maybe for some people it's not, but $46,000 position, that's for us retail traders a bit on the high side. But hey, if you have the capital and you can get to 100 shares, I would definitely have that option available, because these covered calls are, I mean, shoot, you can just go 45 days out. Look at these covered calls. These covered calls are selling for like $3,000 each. Huh. The 490 call for July is selling for $3,200. That's a pretty sweet income to get while you're waiting for shares to appreciate, right? So that's probably what I would do. You can even go 30 days out. Even 30 days out, the covered calls at the money are going for about $2,500 to about $3,000 each. So you can make some good income on the covered call side. All right, so I'll take a sip of water real quick. All right, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I hope everyone enjoyed. We got the moves. Again, just a quick summary. CrowdStrike, they beat EPS, but they missed revenue, and they lowered fiscal year guidance on sales. That's why it's getting a negative reaction. Keep in mind, though, they did approve a $1 billion share repurchase program. So as soon as they start repurchasing the shares, you should see some positive momentum on the share price when they start repurchasing the shares. And I do think this is a good candidate for a dip buy. Just be careful, wait for higher lows to start printing to ensure the bottom's in. And I would definitely be more than happy to start nibbling on this one. HPE, they beat EPS and revenue. Overall, positive reaction. They're taking a little breather now. So keep your eye on it. I'd say S1 on this is $18 a share. I'd like to see $18 hold. That would be good for the bulls moving forward for the rest of after hours. But yeah, shout out to everyone on YouTube that joined the stream. I do this every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, every single week. My name's the Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. If you're looking for a new home, new community, supportive community, come check us out. PB Alerts. I do most of the advanced options trading there. So the credit spreads, the debit spreads, the condors. I run a ton of the wheel strategy. I've been doing diagonal calendar spreads lately. Those are fun to do. I love those. That's basically we're buying a longer dated put option 3 to 4 months out, and then we're using that put option as collateral to sell weekly cash secured puts, which forming that calendar spread, if you will, reduces your buying power needed on the weekly cash secured puts by like 80-90%, and then we can generate the weekly income on that side. So I do a lot of that as well. My name's the Swinging Bull. If you do, there's links in the description. You can just join for free, see how you like it, and go from there. If you want to jump right into my coaching, there's a link there for that too. But if you do come over to the Discord, just tag me in the chat. I'll come by and say hello, and we can definitely chat, kind of see what your situation is and see how I can help you out. But again, yeah, my name's the Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. I hope everyone enjoyed the stream. Hope everyone has a fantastic night, and I'll see everybody in the next stream. Cheers, and talk to you soon. Bye now.